Welcome to Biography Central. You are listening to Life of Sri Ramakrishna, a complete biography. Chapter 25, The Holy Mother at Dakshineswar. The last that we saw of the Holy Mother was at Kamarpukur, under the tutelage of Sri Ramakrishna. This holy association filled the pure-hearted girl with unspeakable delight. Referring to this joy, she said later on, "I used to feel always as if a pitcher full of bliss were placed in my heart. The joy was ineffable." When, a few months later, Sri Ramakrishna returned to Dakshineswar, she went back to her father's home, the happiest girl in the world. As a result of this inward bliss, her character was completely transformed. She became more gentle, more thoughtful, and more unselfish, developing an unbounded love for all creatures. She was the very embodiment of kindness. Physical discomforts or unkind treatment were powerless to ruffle the serenity of her mind. She passed her days at Jirambati, ungrudgingly serving her relatives, though her heart was at Dakshineswar, at the feet of the Master. Much as she would have liked at times to see him and to be near him, she consoled herself with the thought that he would call her to his side at the right moment. With this conviction, Sarada Devi held herself in readiness. For years passed, and she was now a young woman of 18. Poised as she was, by reason of her inward bliss, above the ordinary joys and sorrows of the world, still she was not deaf to the idle gossip of the people of her village about her saintly husband, whom they described as mad. To them there was no other epithet applicable to a man who, regardless of all physical comfort, passed his entire time in chanting the name of the Lord. Some of her companions looked upon her with pity or scorn as the wife of a madman. Though she patiently bore these inflictions, her heart was lacerated, and she would think, "Is it true that he is insane? Is he no longer the man I knew at Kamarpukur? If indeed matters have come to such a pass, then I must not be separated from him any longer. I should be at his side to serve him to the best of my ability." After much thought, she decided to go to Dakshineswar to see for herself. An opportunity to do so soon presented itself. During the Dol Purnima festival, people from distant places come to bathe in the sacred waters of the Ganges. Some distant relatives of Sarada Devi resolved to go to Calcutta for this purpose. She begged leave to accompany them. The ladies thought it wise to speak about it to her father. He was quick enough to understand his daughter's real motive in going to Calcutta, and arranged to accompany her himself. As there was no railway and a palanquin was too costly for them, there was no alternative but to travel the distance of 80 miles on foot. They set out on the appointed day and walked on, the beautiful scenery helping to relieve the tedium of the journey. For 2 or 3 days, all went well. Then, to the mortification of Sarada Devi, she fell ill of a high fever, and it became imperative to interrupt the journey and to stop at an inn. But comfort came to her in a vision. She said afterwards, "As I lay unconscious with fever, I saw an exceptionally lovely young girl of dark complexion sitting beside me. She passed her cool and tender hands over my body, taking away most of the burning sensation." "Where do you come from?" I asked. "From Dakshineswar," she replied. "From Dakshineswar," I said in surprise. "I long to go there, to meet him and serve him. But this fever has upset everything." "Why?" said the girl. "You shall go to Dakshineswar when you get well and meet him. I have kept him there for your sake." I said, "You are so kind. Who are you, pray?" "I am your sister," she replied. I said, "Ah, that's why you have come." After this conversation, I fell asleep. Next morning, Ram Chandra found that his daughter was free from fever, and the journey was resumed. After going a short distance, they came across a palanquin, which they engaged and reached Dakshineswar at 9 o'clock at night, in March 1872. Sri Ramakrishna was much disturbed at seeing Sarada Devi in such a weakened condition. He arranged for a separate bed for her in his own room, and said again and again with regret, "Ah, you have come too late. My mother is no longer here to look after you." But with the good treatment and nursing under the personal supervision of the Master, she recovered in 3 or 4 days. He then sent her to live with his mother in the concert room. Convinced after a few days' stay at Dakshineswar that Sri Ramakrishna was unchanged in his attitude towards her, Sarada Devi decided to remain and give herself over to the service of Sri Ramakrishna and his mother. Thereupon, her father returned to his home, rejoicing in the thought that his daughter was happy with her husband. Sri Ramakrishna now resumed his old task of teaching his wife, testing at the same time his own realizations and discharging his duties as a husband. Those who move through the world, wholly dependent on the will of the Lord, have no plans ahead. They wait and watch for guidance in everything they do. Hence, they neither court any test nor shirk it when it comes. When Sri Ramakrishna took upon himself the task of training his wife at Kamarpukur, it was because it seemed to be the right thing to be done at the time. His departure for Dakshineswar was but an interruption. Now, he took up the work again at the point where he had left off. His teaching covered a wide range of subjects from housekeeping to the knowledge of Brahman. Not content with mere instructions, he took particular care to see that she carried out his injunctions, lovingly correcting any mistake. One of the important lessons he gave to Sarada Devi at this time was, God is everybody's beloved, just as the moon is dear to every child. Everyone has an equal right to pray to him. Out of his grace, he manifests himself to all who call upon him. You too will see him if you but call upon him. Some months after the Holy Mother's arrival, there arose a curious desire in Sri Ramakrishna's mind, which he lost no time in gratifying. It was the new moon of May, 1872, an auspicious night for the worship of Kali, and Sri Ramakrishna made special arrangements for it in his own room, instructing the Holy Mother to be present. She went there at 9 p.m. Sri Ramakrishna took the seat of the priest. After the preliminaries were over, he beckoned the Holy Mother to the seat which was reserved for the goddess. Sarada Devi was in a semi-conscious state as she reverently watched the proceedings and, like one under a hypnotic spell, took the seat as she was told. Sri Ramakrishna, with the help of an assistant, went through the regular form of worship in which the Holy Mother took the place of the deity. During the ceremony, she went into samadhi. The master, too, when he had finished the mantras, went into the superconscious state. Priest and goddess were joined in a transcendental union in the self. Hours passed. At dead of night, the master partially recovered consciousness. Then, with the appropriate mantra, he surrendered himself and the fruits of his lifelong sadhana, together with his rosary, at the feet of the Holy Mother and saluted her. With this sacred ceremony, called in the Tantras the Shorusi Puja, or the worship of the woman, was finished the long series of Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual practices. It was the consummation of his sadhana, in which he dedicated his all to the Mother of the universe, manifested through the living symbol of Sarada Devi. To his illumined vision, everything in the universe became the symbol of God. His sweeping glance encompassed both absolute and manifestation, so that like the Rishi of the Upanishad he might say, "Thou art the woman, and thou art the man. Thou art the boy, and thou art the girl. Thou art the old man tottering on his crutches. Thou pervadest the universe, born in multiple forms." The Holy Mother continued to live at Dakshineswar, enjoying the Master's divine company. The following are her reminiscences of those blissful days. I have no words to describe my wonderful exaltation of spirit as I watched him in different states. Under the influence of divine emotion, he would sometimes talk on abstruse subjects, sometimes laugh, sometimes weep, and again become perfectly motionless in samadhi. This would continue throughout the night. There was such an extraordinary divine presence in him that I used to shake with fear and wonder how the night would pass. I understood little of trances then. One day, finding his samadhi would not break, I was terribly afraid and wept and sent for Hriday. He came and uttered the Lord's name in his ear for some time before he could bring him back to consciousness. Then, finding that I suffered, the Master himself taught me to utter such and such names of the Lord when particular kinds of trance set in, or such and such mantras when there were other symptoms. After this, I had less fear, for he would regain consciousness when those methods were adopted. Months passed in this way. Then one day he discovered that I had to keep awake the whole night, lest he should go into samadhi, for it might come on at any moment, and asked me to sleep in the concert room. She used to say that in those days the master taught her everything, beginning with such details of domestic life as how a lamp was to be trimmed, how she was to behave with the different members of her family according to their different natures, and how she should conduct herself while visiting up to the highest spiritual subjects such as prayer, chanting of the Lord's name, meditation, samadhi, and even realization of the Brahman. How different from the married life of the ordinary man. One stands in awe before such a lofty example. One day, Sarada Devi, as she was massaging the master's feet, asked him, "What do you think of me?" Quick came the answer, "The mother who is worshipped in the temple is the mother who has given birth to this body and is now living in the concert room. And she again is massaging my feet at this moment. Verily, I always look upon you as the visible representation of the blissful mother." One day, finding his wife asleep by his side, Sri Ramakrishna thus said to himself, "Here is a woman's body which the world holds so clear. But he who takes pleasure in it is confined to the body and cannot realize God. Tell me frankly whether you want this or God. If the former, then here it is." His purified mind answered this searching question by merging in a samadhi so deep that it lasted the night. Next morning, after considerable difficulty, he was brought back to consciousness by the repetition of the Lord's name in his ear. Months passed in this way, but not once did the minds of this divine couple come down to the plane of sense. This was possible because both husband and wife had their minds attuned to the infinite. Sri Ramakrishna complimented Sarada Devi in unequivocal terms. He used to say, "After marriage, I anxiously prayed to the Divine Mother to root out all sense of physical enjoyment from her mind. That my prayer had been granted, I knew from my contact with her during this period. When even after the lapse of a year or more Sri Ramakrishna felt not the least trace of body idea in his mind, and continued to look upon Sarada Devi, sometimes as the manifestation of the Divine Mother, and sometimes as the Atman or Brahman, he understood that the Mother had brought him successfully through the ordeal, and that, through her grace, his mind was able to remain without any effort on his part on the highest plane of spiritual realization. He felt that the grace of the Divine Mother had brought him to the end of his sadhanas, and his mind was so absorbed at her lotus feet that no thought entered in it, consciously or unconsciously, that was contrary to her will. The Holy Mother returned to Kamarpukur about the month of November in 1873, after staying a year and 8 months with her husband. I hope you like this chapter. We need volunteers and sponsors to create content with even better quality and with more variety. If you wish to join this initiative as a volunteer or sponsor, please click the links given in description below. To help us reach more viewers, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Biography Central. Thank you for your time. It means a lot. Namaste.